The Rainmakers is an innovation and corporate venturing company, which basically means that we invent for ourselves and for other people. We take very early stage ideas and we turn them into businesses and put them out to market. In a lot of the projects we take in for the Rainmakers, what we do is we take in entrepreneurial ideas from an entrepreneur and we put structure around them. So we put maybe management team around them, put them in offices, we give them some good ideas, maybe some intellectual property. We give them advice, I give them personal advice and mentoring how to run their businesses. And then we may raise money for them or we may put in a bit of seed capital, but we tend not to invest cash into the businesses because if we did that, we'd have no money left because there are so many businesses that we get involved in. I mean, we currently have 25 different businesses, everything from plumbing to medical devices to postal services to internet technology. So it's very varied and becoming more so. It's very hard deciding which companies to invest in. And we get probably 100 inquiries a week for investment and to incubate. I would say out of the 1,000 proposals we get, we probably actually meet 20 of them, and then we probably take 5 of them down the path a little bit, and then we probably actually end up taking 1 project forward. So it's quite a big filter process. There's only so many hours in the day, and 25 projects takes up enough of my time as it is. Viapost is the classic way we work. I came up with a great idea, which was for distributed printing postal service in the deregulated postal market. And I found a fantastic entrepreneur in Simon Campbell to bring everything together. We wrote the business plan, we put a bit of substance around it, got an investment and put it out to market, and it's now looking like it'd be a very, very successful business. When I first heard about the deregulated market coming in about, I think it was about 2002, 2003, I kind of thought, well, surely there's a great business model here of doing distributed print and posting. If you can deliver, post into one of these mail centres, you get a huge discount, so let's build a service. And it kept niggling away at me, and I was like, okay, let's see what we can do. So I just put together a business plan and then over the next year kind of developed it. And I have lots of businesses like that. Sometimes the slow burn ones are actually the best ideas. So it's really interesting. It's a really interesting aspect that in my business I'm the opposite of a control freak. So because we have so many businesses, I have to have a hands-off approach to all of them, and a kind of, if you succeed, that's fantastic. If you don't, that's not a problem. And that's really been my attitude for years, and I suspect that really comes from having grown a business when I was 17. I raised £25 million for a big e-commerce idea and lost everything by the time I was 19. And having gone through that experience, I suppose I changed my risk profile. And rather than putting all my eggs in one basket, I looked at a distributed model. And now I'm probably one of the most prolific serial entrepreneurs out there. But having said that, I do miss growing a business. And at some point, I will go back to running 1 or 2 businesses, or maybe just 1 and concentrating on it. Naturally, when you lose as much money as £25 million, you kind of ask yourself some seriously harsh questions and wondering whether it was a fluke or, was it your fault? I suppose it took me 6 months to build myself back up and get my confidence back. But now I'm a lot more philosophical about it. If I lost everything now, yes, I certainly wouldn't be pleased about it, but I've realised I'm just me. I do what I do. Either I'm going to be successful or I'm not. There's only so much control you can have over that. So now I'm a bit more philosophical about it, and it was a hard time, but I actually learnt more from that time than any other, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's one of my beliefs that when you go through something like some very hard event, time is a great healer. So I think that, just over a little bit of time, just collect your thoughts, evaluate what went wrong. And then I realised, well, I'm 19, I've had 2 businesses by that point, I've raised millions, I've lost millions. It's hardly failure, it's an experience. I'm a lot more realistic in the fact that out of every investment we make, a good proportion will fail. So we work at the Rainmakers on a 2-6-2 basis, which is 2 great successes, 6 will be okay and 2 will fail. And as long as you're just prepared to accept those metrics, then we should be okay. So it should mean out of, say, the 25 projects that we have at the moment, we're going to have kind of 5 or 6 successes and probably the same number of failures and probably a number of other ones that just go along. I think for me, dyslexia has a number of beneficial aspects in business. The first is the more challenges you go through as a kid, I think the more that kind of prepares you for the real world and kind of matures you and structures you for kind of a business environment. Second of all, I think the dyslexic mind is very logical and straightforward and allows us to think in a slightly different way. And the difference between an entrepreneur and a criminal is very little. If you look at the stats, something like 80% of prisoners are dyslexic. And it's because the criminal mind has a lot of similarities to the entrepreneurial mind. You're always looking for opportunities. You're always looking for the easy route, the safe route, but you're prepared to take a lot of risk. People are surprised at that stat, but it doesn't surprise me at all. I think given a different set of circumstances, I could have easily become a master criminal. In fact, there's still time yet. I think partnerships in business are very, very challenging. Personally, I would choose not to have another partner in business ever again. Doesn't mean I don't work with people. I have a lot of partners in different businesses. But personally, would I assign half of everything I do to another person? No. And that's not because I'm not saying that a business partner is not valuable. In some businesses, it's hugely important and critical. But for me personally, I find I need the freedom to make my own mistakes and my own successes. And I think you bear a certain responsibility to a partner not to take the same kind of risks. So for me, I think having a partner lowers my risk-taking levels, and that's not a good thing for me in business. But having said that, I wouldn't say having a partner is a bad thing, but it is challenging. Go into a partnership on the same basis you'd go into a marriage, with the same degree of tepid evaluation of the other person. The main challenges of going into business with a friend are defining boundaries and who's responsible for what. I only go into business with my friends on the basis that I'm prepared to lose the business to remain friends with that person. So if I make an investment into a friend, I write off that investment the day I make it. If it returns anything, great. But if not, it can destroy friendships. It's a challenge. It's human relationships. You have to be very good at psychology. You have to understand people. It's things are always great at the beginning, and it's a lot harder once the honeymoon period is over. A bit like a relationship. It's easier to get divorced than get out of a business together.